The moment my life took a sharp left turn, I was sitting on our worn-out couch, the baby monitor crackling softly in the background. My wife, Lila, and I had just put our 6-month-old son to sleep, a task that felt like a small victory in the chaotic world of new parenthood. "We did good, huh?" I said, trying to break the silence that had settled between us like an uninvited guest. "Yeah, we did," Lila replied, but her eyes were distant, her mind clearly elsewhere. That's when she dropped the bomb. "I've been thinking. Maybe we should try an open marriage." I swear my heart stopped. "Come again?" I asked, hoping I'd misheard. Lila went on, talking about freedom, exploration, and not wanting to feel trapped. I couldn't believe it. Here I was, thinking we were the perfect little family, and boom, she wanted to see other people. After a night of tossing and turning, I agreed to give it a shot. For us, for our son. Maybe it was the sleep deprivation talking, but part of me thought this could actually work. So, we set some ground rules and jumped into the deep end. Lila seemed to dive right in, meeting people, going out more. She'd come home with stories that made my stomach twist, but I kept my word and tried to be supportive. Meanwhile, I felt like a fish out of water. I went on a few awkward dates, the kind where you count the minutes until you can make a polite exit. Every time, I come home feeling more out of place than ever. One night, as Lila shared yet another adventure, something inside me snapped. "Do you ever think about how this affects me?" I blurted out, her face fell, and for a moment, I saw a flicker of the woman I married, the one who seemed to have gotten lost in this whole open marriage experiment. But instead of answering, she turned away, leaving me to wonder if we'd ever find our way back to each other. Just when I thought my life couldn't get any more twisted, it did. Standing by the office coffee machine, nursing a burnt tongue and a bruised ego, I bumped into Sam, a colleague from a couple of floors up. Our casual chat over the quality of office coffee, terrible, by unanimous verdict, somehow turned into one of the most genuine conversations I'd had in months. Sam, with her easy laugh and knack for seeing right through my fine facade, became a beacon in the murky waters of my life. We started having lunch together, sharing stories about work and life, and before I knew it, I was looking forward to those moments more than anything. It was during one of our lunch breaks, laughing over some silly office mishap, that I realized I had stumbled into an unexpected connection. It felt like finding an oasis in a desert I didn't even know I was crossing. But here's the kicker, I hadn't planned on developing feelings for anyone, let alone Sam. It just happened. When Lila found out, her reaction was as unexpected as a snowstorm in July. "You're seeing someone? Like, seriously seeing someone?" she asked, her voice a mix of disbelief and anger. The irony wasn't lost on me. After months of her telling me about her dates, her adventures, her freedom, the tables had turned, and she didn't like it one bit. Our home turned into a battlefield, with arguments flaring up over anything and everything. Lila demanded I end things with Sam, slamming me with accusations and jealousy. The more she ranted, the clearer it became, this open marriage was a one-way street, and I was going the wrong direction. I started questioning everything, our marriage, my happiness, the very fabric of our family. I felt like a puppet in a play I hadn't auditioned for, trapped in a role I no longer wanted. The joy and connection I found with Sam only highlighted the chasm in my marriage, a chasm that seemed too wide to bridge. Then, as if my life needed more drama, Sam dropped a bombshell. Over coffee, in the same spot where we first met, she told me about her past, a tapestry of challenges and triumphs that added layers of depth to her character. She spoke of her struggles and victories with a vulnerability that made me admire her even more. Each revelation, each shared secret, drew us closer. Sam wasn't just a colleague or a friend, she was becoming my confidant, my source of strength amidst the chaos of my life. It was a connection that went beyond the casual encounters I had resigned myself to in the open marriage experiment. The realization hit me hard, I was done. Done with the arguments, the jealousy, the constant tug of war for happiness. I wanted more, something real and profound, not the shadow of a marriage Lila and I had left. Confronting Lila about my decision was one of the hardest things I've ever done. "I can't do this anymore," I said, the words heavy with the weight of our fractured dreams. "This isn't what I want. It's not making either of us happy." Her reaction was a mix of anger, disbelief, and, beneath it all, a hint of regret. But the die was cast. I had glimpsed a different future, one where I wasn't just surviving but thriving. And I knew, deep down, that's where I needed to head, towards a life where I could find happiness, not just chase it. From the moment I woke up that day, I knew everything was about to change. It wasn't just another Tuesday. It was the day I decided I couldn't live in the shadows of what used to be my life. Sitting across from Sam at our now favorite coffee spot, I found something in her eyes that I hadn't seen in a long time: hope. Sam and I had grown close, way closer than I ever thought possible with someone who wasn't my wife. But unlike my marriage, with Sam, there was understanding, laughter, and a sense of peace I'd forgotten existed. She listened, really listened, and in those conversations, I found solace and a clarity I hadn't realized I was searching for. The decision didn't come easy, but sitting there, sharing our fears and dreams, I knew what I had to do. I can't keep living like this, I confessed to Sam, the words tasting like freedom. I need to start over, for me, for my son. Later that evening, the confrontation with Lila was inevitable. Her face was a storm of emotions as I laid it all out: the pain, the disillusionment, and the finality of my decision. "I'm leaving, Lila," I said, the words heavy but necessary. "And I'm taking our son with me." The ultimatum wasn't a threat, it was a promise to myself and to the little guy who deserved a world of stability, not the constant chaos we've been living in. Lila's response was a mix of anger, disbelief, and something else I couldn't quite place at the time: fear, maybe, or regret. The next few days were a blur of packing, whispered phone calls, and legal consultations. Leaving wasn't just about walking out the door, it was about ensuring my son's future was secure, that he would be okay amidst the upheaval. And then, D-Day arrived. With my son's small hand in mine and a single suitcase in the other, I closed the door on a chapter of my life that had run its course. The weight of that moment, leaving behind not just a house but a whole life, was almost crushing. But as we drove away, I felt a weight lifting off my shoulders, the first breath of freedom filling my lungs in what felt like forever. In the silence that followed our departure, Lila was forced to confront the reality of our broken marriage. Alone in the home we once shared, the magnitude of her decisions finally hit her. The freedom she thought she wanted cost her everything that truly mattered. But the real death punch came when she discovered the betrayal from her closest friend, the one person she trusted with the secrets of our open marriage. That friend, it turned out, had been in my corner the whole time, offering advice and support as I navigated my way out of the mess our lives had become. In those moments of realization and regret, Lila was forced to see the truth in the harshest light possible. Her quest for freedom and exploration had led her to a place of isolation and loss, a stark contrast to the new beginning I was embarking on with our son and, eventually, Sam. As I looked in the rearview mirror, driving towards a future filled with unknowns but also with hope, I couldn't help but feel a pang of sadness for Lila. But some lessons, as harsh as they are, come too late, and the price of learning them is often higher than we're willing to pay. Life has a funny way of turning tables when you least expect it. Sitting in my new apartment, sunlight streaming through the window, I couldn't help but marvel at how different everything looked now. Sam and I, we were solid, more than I ever dared to hope for. It was like we were pieces of a puzzle that fit together perfectly, making sense of a picture I didn't even know was incomplete. Our relationship had deepened, evolving into something real and substantial. We shared mornings over coffee, discussing everything from work projects to the mundane details of daily life, and it felt right. Evenings were spent in laughter, cooking together, or unwinding with a movie, comfortable in the silence that spoke volumes of our mutual understanding and affection. But as my life moved forward, Lila's attempts to pull me back into the past grew more desperate. She called, sent messages, even showed up at my office once, pleading for another chance. "We can fix this, can't we? For our son?" she'd say, her voice cracking with a mixture of hope and desperation. It was heart-wrenching, seeing her like that, but my decision was made. My life with Sam and my commitment to my son's happiness and stability were my priorities. I couldn't undo the choices that led us here, nor could I return to a life that no longer existed. The custody battle was the inevitable next step, a grueling process that tested every ounce of my resolve. Lila fought hard, driven by a mix of guilt, regret, and a fierce love for our son. but my determination was fueled by the conviction that I was making the right choice for his future. In the end, the court's decision to grant me primary custody felt like bittersweet victory, one that came with its own set of challenges and responsibilities. Meanwhile, Lila's world seemed to crumble around her. The friends who once cheered on her quest for freedom now turned their backs, whispering about her choices and the fallout. Her social circle shrank, leaving her to navigate the consequences of her actions in isolation. It was a downward spiral, painful to witness, even from a distance. The final confrontation came unexpectedly. Lila, looking worn and defeated, asked to meet. As we sat across from each other, the air heavy with unspoken words, she finally broke the silence. "How did it come to this?" she asked, her eyes searching mine for answers I didn't have. It was then, in that moment of raw vulnerability, that I shared the depth of my unhappiness in our marriage, the relief I felt now, and the hope that Sam and my new life brought me. It wasn't said in anger or spite, but as a simple truth that needed to be acknowledged. As I walked away from that meeting, I couldn't help but feel a mix of relief and sorrow. My professional and personal life were thriving, a stark contrast to the ruins of the life Lila and I once shared. It was a sobering reminder of how choices define us, for better or worse. In the end, Lila was left to face the consequences of her actions alone. It wasn't a triumph for me, there was no joy in witnessing her downfall. But it was a necessary closure, a finality that allowed us both to move forward, albeit on separate paths. Life, I realized, is a series of choices, each with its own set of consequences. And in the quiet of my new beginning, I found not just success and happiness, but a deeper understanding of what it means to live a life true to oneself. It was like standing at the edge of a cliff, knowing that the next step would change everything. There she was, Lila, the woman I had once promised to spend my life with, standing on my doorstep under the dim porch light. Her eyes were pleading, a stark contrast to the determination that once defined her. "Can we talk?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. This was it, the final showdown, the moment that would either seal our fates together or apart. I led her into the living room, the tension between us thick enough to cut with a knife. "I've made mistakes," she began, her words tumbling out in a rush of regret and desperation. "I thought I wanted freedom, but I was wrong. Can't we try again, for our son's sake?" I listened, really listened, to the words she was saying, but all I could think about was the journey that had brought me here. The sleepless nights, the arguments, the moments of clarity with Sam that showed me what true companionship could be. I had grown, evolved from the person I was when Lila and I first met. "I can't," I said finally, the words heavy but honest. "We've both changed, Lila, it's time to move on." The conversation that followed was a blur, a mix of tears, apologies, and whispered goodbyes. But as she left, something inside me felt lighter. I had faced the final test, and in doing so, had found closure. In the quiet that followed, I took a moment to reflect on the point. It was a path marked by pain, yes, but also by growth and unexpected joy. I had discovered strength I didn't know I possessed, and in the process, had built a brighter future for myself and my son. Embracing this new life wasn't just about leaving the past behind, it was about moving forward with optimism and an open heart. I had Sam, a woman who had shown me what it meant to love and be loved in return. Together, we were building something beautiful, something that felt like home in a way I hadn't experienced in years. Meanwhile, Lila's isolation became a mirror of the choices she had made. The community, once a shared space of support and friendship, shifted in its perception. Whispers of her actions and their consequences spread, serving as a somber reminder of the price of selfishness and betrayal. It was a harsh reality, but one that was of her own making. As for me, my newfound love for my work had blossomed into professional success. It was as if all the pieces were finally falling into place, each success at the office a testament to the personal growth I had undergone. My career was thriving, a reflection of the passion and dedication I now had the freedom to pour into it. The community's reaction to our story was mixed, but within it, I found a sense of vindication. People saw the effort I had put into rebuilding my life, the commitment I had shown to my son, and the respect I had garnered in my professional circle. It was a confirmation that, despite the challenges, I had made the right choices for myself and my family. Looking back, The road I had traveled was marked by trials and triumphs, each step a lesson in resilience and the power of starting anew. My journey was a testament to the fact that, even in the face of adversity, it's possible to emerge stronger, wiser, and with a renewed sense of purpose. And as I stood on the threshold of this new chapter, I knew that the best was yet to come. Just when you think life's got a predictable beat, it throws you a curveball that flips the script entirely. That's exactly what happened to Lila, my now ex-wife, who thought she had a shot at turning things around. She'd been making these small, tentative steps towards redemption, volunteering at community events, and trying to rebuild some of the bridges she'd burned. But fate, it seems, had other plans. One day, she received a letter, the kind that feels like a punch in the gut. Her application for a major job, the one she'd pinned all her hopes on for a fresh start, was rejected. Not because she wasn't qualified, but because of the ripple effects of her past actions. It was a stark reminder that sometimes, the consequences of our choices linger far longer than we'd like. Meanwhile, life at our end couldn't be more different. Sam, my son, and I had settled into this comfortable rhythm that felt like it was always meant to be. Our home was filled with laughter, bedtime stories, and weekend adventures that brought us closer than ever. It was a happiness that was simple and pure, a stark contrast to the turmoil of the past. This journey taught me a lot about the legacy of choices. How each decision we make, big or small, weaves into the fabric of our lives, shaping our destinies in ways we can hardly predict. Lila's path, marked by regret and solitude, served as a poignant cautionary tale, a reminder of the weight our choices carry. Reflecting on everything, I realized that growth and resilience often come from the most unexpected places. My journey through the storm led me to a place of strength and contentment I never knew existed. It showed me that happiness isn't just about avoiding the pitfalls of life, but about finding your way out of them with your head held high. Moving forward, Sam and I are focused on the future, on the endless possibilities that life holds. We've learned to embrace each day with optimism, knowing that even the darkest nights eventually give way to dawn. Lila's final realization hit her like a cold wave, understanding the true cost of her actions only when it was too late to change the course of her fate. It was a hard lesson, one that came at a great cost, but it was her path to walk, her burden to bear. The community, too, found its way back to a place of healing and forgiveness. It's amazing how adversity can bring people together, teaching us the value of compassion and the strength of unity. We learn to support each other, to rebuild the bonds that were frayed by conflict and misunderstanding. In stepping into my new role as not just a father and partner but also a figure of resilience within the community, I found a sense of purpose I didn't know I was searching for. It was as if all the pieces of my life were finally clicking into place, each one fitting perfectly to create a picture of hope and renewal. Ever think back on a choice you made and wonder, what the heck was I thinking? That's me with the whole open marriage idea. It sounded modern, enlightened even, until reality hit like a freight train. Looking back, I see the maze of complexities and challenges it brought into our lives. It wasn't just about seeking new experiences, it was a test of our understanding and commitment, a test we failed spectacularly. Lila's journey after our split was a tough one to watch from the sidelines. She wandered down a path of introspection, grappling with the choices that led her to a life of solitude and regret. It was a solitary journey, one filled with hard lessons about love, loss, and the consequences of our actions. Meanwhile, I focused on rebuilding my life, this time with a foundation of positivity and clarity. Sam and our son were my beacons of hope, guiding me towards a future that was bright and filled with promise. But the contrast between my life and Lila's couldn't have been starker. While I found happiness and stability, she was left to face the shadows of her decisions, a poignant reminder of what happens when we lose sight of what truly matters. The final lesson of our story isn't a simple one. It's about the importance of understanding, commitment, and the willingness to face the consequences of our choices. It's a lesson that came at a high cost, one that changed the course of our lives forever. As we look into the future, the long-term impact of our choices becomes clear. For our son, the stability and love he found in our new family structure became the cornerstone of his happiness and growth. For Lila, the journey was a harder one, marked by moments of reflection on the loss that could never be fully recaptured. The moral compass of our story points to a simple truth. Relationships are complex, and the choices we make within them can lead us down paths we never anticipated. It's a tale that serves as a guide, encouraging us to tread carefully and consider the impact of our actions on those we love. Lila's moment of reflection on her loss was a stark reminder of the true value of what she had given up. It underscored the profound realization that sometimes we don't recognize the importance of what we have until it's gone. My commitment to growth, both personally and professionally, became a source of inspiration not just for me but for those around me. It was a testament to the fact that even in the face of adversity, we have the capacity to rise, to change, and to find fulfillment in ways we never imagined. As we conclude this story, the final message to readers is one of introspection and the pursuit of genuine happiness. It's a call to examine our choices, to understand their implications, and to strive for a life that reflects our truest selves. Our narrative delves into the depths of human nature, exploring the complexities of selfishness, betrayal, and the incredible capacity for change. It highlights the stark contrast between the story's beginnings and its endings, showcasing the transformative journey of our characters. In the end, the reflection on love and betrayal leaves an indelible mark on our lives. It's a compelling close to